play because I'm the last one in. Hey! Hey! All right! Go, Marley! Marley McFly in the house! Do your thing! Hey! Are we ready? Hello and thank you. Hello and thank you. Thank you for this week's segment with Rita Fuller-Yates at home again. I'm so excited you guys are joining me. It's gonna be hot and on fire today. Are you guys ready? So, last week we went a little deep. This week we bringing it back up, but it's gonna start some fire. I'm just telling y'all right now. I have a special guest in the house who is not only inspirational to me, but she's inspirational to the movement and the foundation that she created called Heal Her. I'm excited to be a part of the conversation today because we're not talking so much about Heal Her, but we are talking about the differences in the way that men and women think. So we do know that we are very unique in our different perspectives, but we also understand that living with one another and cohabitating with one another is unique within itself. So when we do know how to communicate, we can do better at being better together. And that's just my own philosophy of it, especially when you're talking about in our homes. Today's format will be filled with a lot of conversation. We want you guys involved in the conversation. If you have any points that you have, we'll make sure that Sean reads them out. If you have any questions, please tune in. But we also are going to do some giveaways today. Can you say who's online right now?
I don't have the feed. Y'all got the feed.
Okay.
Oh, we got the feed.
See? So this is why we communicate during the show, because he has to say things. So they have to turn their, is it on there?
Melinda Moulton Payne.
It should be on your timeline. Turn down the volume.
Thomas.
Okay. So.
Hi, ladies.
How would she
Hi,
find
Nay.
that? So it's not on, if it's on my timeline, how does it not pop up? You have to share it to my timeline.
It's already there.
Oh, okay.
It's on your timeline.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yes, they.
Gotta read it.
You got it? You got it, James?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, are y'all there
All
now?
right, we're on here.
Okay, so
Okay,
now
cool.
I can see. Well, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you again. We are here to talk about the perspectives of how men and women think. As I said before, we have an expert in the house, and she will facilitate the conversation today. But please add in your feedback, ask questions, and last but not least, I need you to tune in for the whole show today because we will do some giveaways. We have some questions, and the first person who answers the questions correctly will be given a free prize, and we have some good stuff. So please stay in tune. As I said before, I have a special guest, Julie Morrison, who is the owner of and the foundation of the founder, I should say, of Heal Her. Is it Heal Her Foundation or organization?
Yep. It's called the Heal Her Foundation.
Heal Her Foundation. Tell us a little bit about Heal Her Foundation.
The Heal Her Foundation is mostly focusing on women wellness. We come together as a sisterhood, and we come together as a sisterhood to talk about the different things that women have struggles with. Okay, I got it. Right camera. What we struggle with and try to kind of build an alternative way of how we've dealt with our situations. So what we decided to do, because a lot of times when we're dealing with our issues, relationships and how we get along with the opposite sex, our mates, usually becomes a problem, especially if they don't know how to deal with us and we have some baggage that we're trying to fix. So I thought it would be a great idea to kind of grab some girls, grab some guys, come together, let's have the conversation, what men think, what women think. Because the term men are from Mars, women are Venus, it plays a part. I don't know if that's true or not, so don't quote me, but we think differently. Men think logically, women think emotionally. Sometimes we have that clash. And so the conversation that we had last Monday at our event was to kind of like break those barriers and bridge the gap. So that's kind of what Heal Her is about, and this was a part of our Heal Her initiative, our women wellness, in order for the men to understand us and us to understand them. And so it went really well. It was kind of a lot.
Well, I think it's always going to be a lot when
Yeah.
when we're in the space together, because we, of course, are not the same.
Exactly.
And when you are not the same, when there is differences, there's always going to be some barriers that you've got to break down.
Exactly.
Well, I think even more importantly with Heal Her, I want to make sure that they understand what the program is in May that you
Okay.
have,
Okay.
that you are planning to have.
Yes.
Tell them a little bit about that.
Okay,
they
so
can
on May
understand
4th,
before we get into-
2019, we're having a celebratory luncheon. All year long, we meet every month. We have different facilitators coming in to kind of give us some tools and resources that can help us in our daily lives. And so at the end of the year, well, it's in May, we try to bring 3 women from the community that are actually giving back in some way. They may have had some trials in their past, some dramatic things that they have overcome. And we want to share with the ladies that yes, you may have been through something, but you can prevail. These ladies that we're bringing this May are exactly an example of what we want you to see. They're going to come, they're going to share their stories, they're going to talk about how they overcome, and we're going to have a good time. So that's May 4th, 2019. And this kind of goes from every month that we meet. And I pick different ladies from all different backgrounds to talk about the tough stuff that is really, really affecting our community.
I love that. So what you're saying about this type of conversation is, let's say the woman is beginning to receive Heal Her help,
Exactly.
and then they begin opening up, and now they're at home dealing with their families. They're going to also receive a lot of challenges at home just from being a new person or
Exactly.
growing into a new person.
Yeah.
So that's what this conversation will help.
Yeah, so basically the men have their own struggles, okay? And women have our own struggles. In order for us to come together as one, there has to be some compromise. But when you're raised in different cultural backgrounds or different upbringings, there's going to be a clash. But it doesn't stop us from connecting. So when we connect, it's like a battle sometimes, you know. The visual looks, and everything is the attraction, but when you get to know a person and then all of a sudden that probation period after 3 months, that's when the stuff starts happening. So, you know, a
Newlywed
lot of
phase
times,
is over.
yeah, so what we want to do is help our ladies learn how to communicate with the men, with our mates, and understand what our faults are, okay? I'm a woman, I don't know the men's faults, so I thought it would be great to bring men in to tell us what they really think about us. And honestly, because as you'll hear later, they're not that much honest with us, but they tell us why.
I
They're
love
not.
that, because we're normally trying to figure out men with
Right.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. Good job,
We're the
Julie.
main-
I
we're-
love that.
We're the main ones reading self-help books for men. But we're not men, but we will read books about how men need to be men. And so we're the ones reading them. We're going to tell them how they should be, and they're looking at us like we're crazy.
Well, is it time? Can you introduce your crew?
I sure can. Like I said, I just pick random people. I wouldn't call myself a Facebook stalker, but I do read your posts. I do pay attention. I do look to see who can give some kind of interest to what we're trying to do. I pick everyday people who are on the battleground, okay? So in the meantime, I just randomly selected people. I'm going to start this way. This is Mrs. Donna Banks. Mrs. Donna Banks came to our first What a Man Thinks that we had over, a month or so ago?
A month ago.
And I mean, her voice was just vivid, and she was passionate about what she meant, and she had no apologetic way. So I wanted to bring her back because I loved how she wasn't scared to express how she feels. So this is Miss Donna Banks.
Thank you.
Okay, and then this is my girlfriend. This is Renata Peterson. She is another one that is not afraid to tell how she feels and thinks about different things. She has been coming to Heal Her for about 3 years. We've been working together. She's been volunteering. I love her to death. So I asked her, I asked everybody, and I thank you guys for just saying okay when I asked you to come and assist me. So here is another dynamic guy right here. I did not know him, but some kind of way we connected on Facebook, and he posts some different things that really starts conversations. I mean, really, really starts conversations. And so I thought about it. He's very passionate about what he talks about as well. Let's have him on the show. And he was wonderful. This is Mr. Mark Holmes. And we have Mr. James Peterson, who is Renata's husband. Okay. So we
Yeah,
have a
he
very
married.
we have so we have a married couple on here to kind of talk about it. And I asked him, I said, I know your wife's here, but I still need you to bring it raw. I need you to bring it all the way true. And he said that he would. So this is Mr. James Peterson.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. We had some crawlers come in.
We was trying to play cool.
I love it.
We're trying to
Sorry, we
act
don't
like
distract. Well, let's dive in because we don't want to spend a lot of time. We want to make sure we get into the meat and the potatoes.
Okay.
Now, last week or a couple weeks ago, the crew met,
Yes.
and there was. Tell me a little bit about the format there so that we
Okay.
can know why we are meeting today.
Okay, so the first time that we met, we had just the men come and talk, and the women were very boisterous to basically state that they wanted to have a voice too. So I picked 3 men, I picked 3 women. I actually had a guest appearance of Blair Nash. He's a relationship strategist that came along with us as well. And so we kind of partnered together to kind of ask the questions, the tough questions, and we got some really great answers. And one of the topics that we had that was it just seemed like it just kept going on and on. Why do men lie? Why do men lie? And the women would
Say it again.
why? and I want to thank the men because they told us. Now we might not have liked it. So, I wanted to kind of ask you guys, what did y'all think about the answers that the men gave about why men lie? What did y'all think?
Tune in now. Why do men lie?
Let's start with Miss Donna.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So I have to be first. What did I think about why they lied? They lied about what they said. They weren't really truthful. They didn't really say why they really chose to lie to us. They came back with that our tongues are sharp and they'll say anything to get the panties. And I didn't believe that. I believe that they lie because they don't know who they are. And most of the time when you meet a woman, she knows what she wants and what she's looking for.
What do y'all say about that? That's what she took out of that meeting.
I don't know if that represented what we were saying. Maybe Lowell was saying something.
Lowell was saying that,
Lowell was
but
going
he's
in
not
there.
here, so.
So why don't y'all give us y'all's interpretation of why men lie if we got the wrong impression the last time?
Well, I mean, I think that's a part of it. Like, I think everybody lies for whatever reason they have, and everybody's guilty of telling a lie. Like we're all guilty, right? Male or female. But some of us definitely lie more than others. I'll credit you on that.
That's true.
Let's see what
I
the
think
people say.
For me, what I would say is that one of the reasons why I would try to hold back is because I don't want to hurt the woman's feelings.
That's good.
Like I don't want to be the guy who hurts her feelings. I want some other guy to be that guy that needs to hurt her feelings. I don't want to be that guy.
I like that.
You know, a girl who lives in a world that says like everything she puts on is banging. Everything looks good, right? She has this ideal, but she really believes it to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be the guy to be the one to be like, that don't look good on you. I want somebody else to be that. So I'm gonna be like,
What do you think?
But then, don't you think it ends up unfolding?
So that's why I wanted Donna to go first, because I said something and Julie pointed it out to me. I said, well, if men are afraid of our reaction, but they want to be respected as strong men, how can I respect you, but you're too afraid to give me the truth because you don't want to hear my reaction? Like, I just have a hard time with giving you the respect that you want, but you are scared to tell me the truth because, like, you don't want to be the bad guy. Well, sometimes you have to be the bad guy.
well, I mean, sometimes you have to be. That's true. But I feel like a lot of times the bad guy is supposed to be the dad. It's not supposed to be us. We want to be the romancer in the relationship. We don't want to be the dad to
That's
say
something new, though.
you need to be corrected, right?
That's a new twist.
Yeah, that's a twist,
In a relationship,
Yeah, it's,
if I say to you, do you love me? And you don't feel that way. Most of the time you say, yeah, I love you. But you don't feel that way.
oh, I see what you're saying. Well, we're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question about the dad thing. What do women, can you elaborate more about the dad and how it relates to dad versus husband, dad versus boyfriend?
Me?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so what I would say is there is your dad is somebody who typically tells you no when you're a child. They typically tell you no more often than the mom, I would say. Like I think a lot of children love their mom because their mom is very caring and loving and gentle with them, but their fathers generally say no, or you didn't do good enough, do better. They come with that kind of a vibe, and but it's a good thing because when you're young and you're forming as an individual, when you have a dad there to say no or stop or you can go this far but no further, you can, as a child, you can learn how to manage your emotions. Why you can get mad at your dad. Like you see like little girls, they get mad at their dad for stuff, whatever reason. I can't go to this party. I hate you, Dad. Right? Well, they're exercising their emotions and learning to control their emotions at a young age. But when you don't have that father figure there that's kind of providing that no factor, they get older and they don't have that. They haven't had an opportunity to master their emotions. So if they bring it into our relationship as adults, and then they become, to put it plainly, they become adult-sized children, and we have to become dad almost, and we don't want to be their dad.
Oh,
We
y'all
wanna
don't want
love
to be
you,
daddy,
like-
so we should
Let me
call
go.
you. You hear that, daddy? I can't call you daddy.
In the grand scheme of back to the romancing, yeah, that's acceptable. But in the everyday, as the male, typically you're doing the enforcing. So you're reprimanding the child always. So in our mind, again, logical, very simple. We're thinking, why do I have to yell at you? You're an adult. Why do I have to? So it's more or less, I'm already in the groove of things. I'm up here going through however many children I'm going through and making sure everybody understands the consequence. I shouldn't have to tell my wife that over something very small in my feeble mind. So
It's legit.
But we're back to why do men lie and the truth of why you lie. Yes, it's going to hurt my feelings, but I'd rather for you to tell me at the beginning, I don't feel the same way that you do. I don't share those feelings rather than to carry on the lie because the reaction.
I think
And you're never going to be able to handle the reaction.
I think what you're hitting on is a reality. If men were to look ourselves in the mirror and be honest, like we have weaknesses, right?
We do too.
We have real severe
we do too.
weaknesses, and they show themselves in that way when we are not being integral, but we're not practicing integrity by telling the truth, right? That is a display of our weakness, right? For whatever the reason, right? A lot of the big reasons is because honestly, men just want a woman. Like men, we really crave the attention and time of women. We really do. Whether guys tell you that or not, we crave it. And so
why can't you tell us?
well, I think there's a shame element there. It's like if a man shows himself to be too soft, honestly, women tend to turn off to guys like that because they eventually lose respect for soft men.
or use that too to their advantage.
Right. So it's like it has to be it's a very difficult balance to present a certain amount of strength and fortitude while at the same time also presenting a certain amount of vulnerability, right? Because if we're too vulnerable, you'll be like, you're not strong. You'll think you're not strong enough to carry me through life.
Well, it's just like anything else. It's the balance, though.
Yeah,
don't you think?
Yeah.
That it's. I mean, we're gonna feel that way about you, but if you don't open up a little bit, how do we even get to a place where we start to love you?
You have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, there's
Because
gonna
only
be.
when you're vulnerable is when you open up and let the woman in the relationship. Women are vulnerable. We're vulnerable to love. We're open to love. We're open to new things. We're open to those things. But men, not so much. It's like, oh, sorry, we're closing that area.
Well, I think that's why we get the heartache thing, right? Because we do open ourselves up to men, and it may be the wrong man, but we open ourselves up to figure that out.
That's true.
And sometimes it damages us beyond repair. And then there are those women who are like, okay, well, that wasn't the right one, so let me get it together and, pick myself up and move on and go the other, the rest of the way. But I think more importantly, before you're vulnerable and you open yourself up as a woman, you have to know what you want. You have to know who you are and get to know the hard stuff before you try to attract somebody or any type of man, because you're going to attract that mirror of things that you don't like and you're not even willing to accept about yourself. So that's important before that. I mean, and then you'll be able, and then with the man, if you open up and become vulnerable, yeah, you might become vulnerable with the wrong one. You might. That's just the reality of the situation. But you can't be scared of that, because then you're not presenting the strong man that you are, because you're afraid to even be vulnerable enough to find the woman. So the Bible says, because that's what he that findeth the good wife, right?
Well, as I'm reading here, I do see someone saying that. So you're saying that most women have daddy issues.
Here he comes.
I'm not. No, I don't think we're saying that.
Hi, Daddy.
Hey,
Bob.
It's too bright.
Hey, Daddy.
Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Home here.
I wouldn't say necessarily the majority of women have necessarily father issues. I think back to, from the eyes of a male's perspective, again, we're dealing with a very simple mind. Very simple. We don't want a whole bunch of things to kind of weigh into the picture. We want a very, very simple playing field. So in our mind, again, as the enforcer, or to show or demonstrate strength with our children, we're doing that around the clock. So it's not necessarily to say every woman is coming into it with daddy issues, but from the male perspective, they don't want to feel as if I gotta father you too by saying, no, you can't do this or do that, just like I would my children.
You bring a good point, because the simple mind is the issue that a lot of women have, because y'all are too simple-minded. And then when we talk to y'all like y'all simple-minded, y'all get all
You
fluffy.
ain't my mama.
Yeah, y'all get
So
all
define simple-minded.
Well, I don't
So I
know what
think-
he means by simple-minded.
Let's make sure we
So,
know what
as far as my
simple-minded
understanding
is.
of the definition for me personally, simple mind is I don't want too many things that do not have a relevance in what I'm really trying to digest at that time. So when I'm focused on something, I really don't want to focus on the rest of the alphabet, and I'm only dealing with A, B, and C at the time. So let me figure that out and come up with a solution and move on to the next thing. But I want to keep this as simple as possible in my thought process. I don't want to have too many different things that I have to deal with, too many bells and whistles.
So what you're saying is, in the struggle of vulnerability, the simple-minded, you can't multitask.
That's what I was
That's
saying.
what I heard too.
Mhm.
Well, I mean,
That's, which is not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
That's actually
no,
true,
because
like-
you're
It
like,
sounds bad.
But it's
you know, I mean, we all got to be honest about that.
Yeah.
Most people can't multitask, but
Most
it's
women
become
do,
this
though.
new.
But I think when you're
I don't
talking
like
about emotions and relative to a man and woman, men are not able to jump from hell to happy.
Right. In a lot of cases, because a lot of times our emotions are so strong where for the average guy who's mild-mannered, he's keeping a lid on all those emotions. So he's going through his day managing a lot of times without even tapping into that bag of emotions. Because if you do, you might get lost and you may not come back out for a while. So a lot of times for us to keep it as simple as possible, we have to deal with one thing at a time. So in a sense, yeah, it is a question of, are you able to multitask or manage different emotions at one time?
Well, you know what? Let me ask you a question. Someone basically said we become each other's parent when we get into a relationship. So even though we are not each other's parents, so me and my husband and I become like a mother figure. He becomes like a father figure. Does that sound strange? That we
No.
still have to communicate and ask. I mean, I'm not saying I ask my husband if I can go somewhere, but maybe I say, do you mind? Make sure that he doesn't have anything else to do. What do you think about the statement, we become each other's parent in a way?
Well, you address two different things. Like when you say asking to like almost asking permission, it's not really asking. That's a respect factor.
Okay.
And I learned that from him, because I used to be like, why I got to ask you anything? But it's a respect factor. It's not a like a parent-child thing.
Mhm.
But then there are certain situations where he has given me a lesson that a father would give their child.
Now you see
I grew
what
up
she
without a
said?
father.
I don't want to father her. I want to be her husband. But sometimes women still need that fatherly guidance. Because when they say a man is to lead a woman, and a woman will follow as long as he has purpose, it's still kind of fatherly. But is that too much of a pressure to put on you?
Sure. I think practically speaking, it's strange to say that we're supposed to be each other's parent. I think that's blurring the lines. I'm somebody that likes to keep things in its proper place.
Well,
like,
what about accountability?
no,
I'm accountable to you.
Definitely.
So being accountable to you in our marriage, in our relationship, I will say to you.
So it's playing on words. Is what
Yeah.
we're doing. Okay.
Yeah, I think so, but maybe not the parenting. But I think because women naturally nurture. You know, my husband has said to me, "You're not my mama."
But when they get sick,
And I say,
They
well, if
fall
I
to
was your
pieces.
mama, I would rip you right
have
now.
y'all ever dealt with
You
a sick
see?
man?
Yes.
A sick man.
It's like having a child.
What do y'all
That's what
say?
it thinks. That's what I think about. Is that we always
I'm
have
telling you,
mom
if
and
y'all get a cold,
dad in us.
When y'all get a
For
cold,
the rest of our lives, I think, and you will need that from us at one point, and we will need a father for us at one point in our lifestyle. I mean, I think it's just given.
I think there's a type of fatherly love that you can express, but I think it's all about, for me, responding to people where they're at. Like, I don't talk to a child like I do an adult, right? Because they're intellectually they're not capable of understanding and flowing with me, right?
But what if
So I
you
won't-
exhibit if you have an adult that's exhibiting childlike behaviors, do you still then not talk to them as in their behavior? What do you do in that?
I mean, what I would probably do is I would talk to them where they're at, right? If they're intellectually at a child level, then I'll respond accordingly. Because I don't want to speak over them or under them. Because if you speak under them, you disrespect them. Speak over them, it's like still kind of a disrespect, because it's like you're not being cognizant of what their needs are. But at the same time, to go from a relationship standpoint, I would not enter into a relationship with somebody like if I knew that they were if they were an adult operating on a childlike level, because they're not ready yet.
But that don't come out to that third, fourth month, like
Yeah,
Julie said.
after
That's
that
why you gotta wait.
probationary period.
That's why you gotta wait.
But that's what he's sort of saying.
90-day
Like,
probation.
we prematurely select them.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. He's like, look, if y'all wait, y'all gonna
figure it
figure out.
So then you have to think about being, unevenly yoked. You come from different cultures and trying to mesh together. And you're brought up this way, he's brought up that way. How do you bring the compromise? When she does not come from a family-oriented background, you come from a Christian background, mother, father, stayed married, she comes from a broken home, and then she has these issues, and you don't understand, and you feel like, I don't want to parent her, but I love her visually, whatever, and she's a nice gal. So how do you deal when you come from two different cultural backgrounds? And I'm not even thinking race and things. I'm talking about just cultural and how you're raised. We're not raised the same these days.
Before you guys answer that, Aubrey, can you read those comments?
To the men, why can't you trust your significant other with the more complex thoughts, and why does it have to be simple for you? Is it because you don't know how or want to be complex?
So you got to say their name too.
Angela Crego.
Okay.
Hi, Angie.
Hey, Angie. So we'll come back to your question. We just want to make sure that we get the people that are online listening.
I think it is definitely back to what Mark was mentioning about vulnerability. A lot of times, guys, we even grow up with the idea of this image of a man, whether you have one in the household or not, whether you see one on TV or not, as the enforcer, the strong man, the bronze, the muscle. And you don't want to ever kind of steer away from that image in your mind growing up as a boy, especially when you don't have that influence. So a lot of times you hold on to the things that you think is a strength, and that's all you focus on. So when you are blindsided by something that you haven't paid attention to or you haven't had a life lesson yet, it will throw you off. So we only focus a lot of times on those strengths because we can identify it, and that gives us motivation a lot of times.
So the great athlete. That's why that's all they do, and that's their only thought.
That's a
That's
good
where their
point.
confidence comes.
I think that's a really good point too. It's not actually to that question, but that's a good point. Because when you look at athletics, which is where a lot of young boys, we're talking about development, right? When a lot of young boys come up, they're seen with the image of athletics being, this is how I get affirmation. This is how I get respect.
Recognition.
And the girls cheer for the athlete, right? So we're seeing, as young boys, right, getting into the mindset of a boy, right? He's getting all these images and he's seeing like, man, that guy gets her attention.
He's winning.
He's winning.
He's winning.
I want that. So what he does is he tries to emulate me. Like, I'm going to be the man too. I'm going to be the best on the team. I'm going to be the man, right? Because I want her attention. And that's what I was saying earlier. Like, you have to understand that even though men are, you know, we're capable and strong individuals, we do deeply desire the time and affection of women. We really do. And it starts in like that type of age where it's like, if I do that, I can get her attention. But here's the thing, right? When you're that athlete and you're doing all that stuff to get that girl's attention, that cheerleader cheer for you, and everybody's happy for you, you're risking something. You're risking concussion. You're risking broken arm, broken leg, right? You're risking your body to get this woman. This is the image that's going on, right? Right? When you play football, you're running into big men, right? And you're putting yourself in danger just to get this girl's attention. That's the psychology of what we as young men we see, right?
Those are good points, Mark.
And what's also crazy is that if the athlete does get hurt, nobody's cheering for him anymore. He gets forgotten and he gets replaced.
Yes.
And then that girl that he wanted cheers for him. So that's a whole nother level, because that speaks to how men have feelings too. But when their feelings often get forgotten, they get pushed to the hospital and left behind, and nobody's cheering for them. And a lot of men are in that position.
And a lot of it they don't know how to ask. Is it a pride thing? That as to why you don't know how to ask for attention?
A lot of times it is. Because, and then you don't even know how to ask. Not just out of a pride thing, but a lot of times when you feel defeated, you don't know what to do. So you just have random thoughts. And then not to be able to focus on one thing and just say, I need help, you don't know how to ask because you're in a fall. A lot of times you don't know how to recover as a male.
And that's interesting that you bring that up, because I've been telling him, like, you have to tell, like, women, I don't know if men think that women are mind readers, because we will, some of us will ask, and I can all speak for myself, I'll ask, like, well, what do you want? Like, how do I make you happy? How do I give you the thing that fills your cup? Because I know it's not the same as the thing that fills my cup, right? And a lot of women won't ask that because they just think that, you know, men are just always supposed to be catered to them. That's not true. Because you'll get more by giving them what they want. But if you don't know what they want, though, that's a totally different ballgame. And you have to be honest with what you want, regardless of whether it's going to hurt our feelings or not. Because if I can't give it to you, I need to know that. Otherwise, you set me up for failure every time. So why is it that men have a hard time expressing what they want, especially if you have a woman that's asking you to give them that information and they're willing to follow suit?
I think it goes back to being vulnerable. I think it goes back to when I say, what is it that you need? What is it that you require that I can give you to make you feel needed, wanted, inspired, respected, devoted? And if you're not okay with who you are, if you're not vulnerable enough or open enough to say, as a man, this is what I need. I need you to drop it like it's hot on Friday at 4 o'clock.
That would be so nice.
That's what I need, right?
Oh, yeah.
But if you're not open to say that, then I might be bringing you a drink. I might be fixing you a dinner, but you want the hot. But you have to be open to tell us.
And then we feel like we're the lesser than because you didn't tell us, but we trying to guess.
Can I say something? I remember in the last meeting, I forget who said it, that a lot of times men don't trust women with their emotions.
Right.
Because they don't want to be what did you say, demasculated or something like that. So they don't want to let women know their true feelings about when they're hurt, they're sad, sometimes even their dreams. How does that make you feel to really be vulnerable enough to say I'm hurt, or what keeps you from it, or who taught you to be that way? Does that make sense? You understand my question?
See, for me, I had a different complexity with my upbringing because I was brought up around women, very, very strong women. So for me, the bar was set, and I felt as if a woman can do it. I certainly can do it. I had examples of women who were doing things that a man would do and a woman would do. So there were things that I had examples of from a woman that showed me strength, but then with that, I didn't get the exact nurturing piece that I should have got that you would typically get from a woman. It was always tough love. It was always get out there. If you get if you scrape your knee, suck it up. Keep going, pick yourself up. So that also tailored a lot of my mindset too growing up. So I would try to gravitate in my mind to guys who represented different things, whether it was how you dress, how you carried yourself, what you were about, how you spoke. And I try to find myself putting all these pieces of the puzzle together.
Oh, so you're basically saying because you wasn't taught in the home, because you were around strong women, you would look to other guys and see how they do things. Not necessarily going to ask them, please mentor me, but you're just watching, kind of seeing how they do things and then try to emulate them yourself. Absolutely. Okay, that's interesting. Can we change the topic just for a second?
Absolutely.
Another big question that we had at the meeting was blended families. So we are in a stage of where we have stepchildren. And what did y'all think about that conversation? About raising another person's child, trying to get along with your stepchild's mother or your stepchild's father.
The discipline differences.
It's difficult.
It's difficult.
It can be very, very, very difficult because blended families, children learn how to play all four of y'all against each other. They know how they have that down pat.
Absolutely.
And if the four adults can't come together as adults and say, this is how we're going to raise our children. Because most of the time what I found is the woman, I don't want my daughter or my son over there with her.
Men do that too.
And men, I'm sure they do. I don't know. But, I don't want them over there with her. And a lot of times it's fearful because the child may get from the other parent what you're not giving them. Children need to be guided and reared in the way that will prepare them for adulthood. And most of the time we have children raising children. Most kids don't even know what it's like when the street lights come on. You're supposed to be home. But most kids don't have that today. So when you have a blended family, if they're not used to getting discipline, they definitely don't want to come over my house for discipline because you're getting it. And if the parent of those children, the stepchildren, never had discipline, they don't want their kids around someone who's going to discipline them.
Differences. It's like if she was raised this way and her parenting style was different from your parenting style. Because I know you have stepchildren that both of you had to raise, yours and his.
And I'm actually a stepchild, if you will, myself.
Okay.
With the dynamics of my mother and my stepfather's relationship, again, when I met him at 4, she told me to introduce him as his first name and to call him by that. This is not your father. But to understand that you need to respect him as a man, but all the discipline, all the questioning, everything still filters through mom. So that was the pants and the skirt in one role, if you will, as a mother. So in a sense, now that I am a stepfather, I was essentially prepared for that role. So the things that I didn't get to see coming from a man that I got from a woman, I said I wanted to be that for whatever child that I have, whether it's mine or my own stepchildren. So I kind of shaped my mindset with that too.
I'm gonna follow up what James was saying. It's like I think he hit on a point that kind of points out that we're in a new normal now. Like when a lot of us were coming up, having children from a different relationship was not as prevalent as it is now.
That's right.
So like a lot of us are kind of feeling in the dark, trying to feel our way around. Like how do we make this thing work? because we just didn't come from that. So, but I feel like the tables have actually flipped, where it's like, before when we were coming up, it was like, you got your parents, you got your aunts and uncles, and everybody's pretty much there. But now it's like there's a lot of single moms, single dads, and in certain communities it's even more than others. So it's like the dynamic is just different today than when it was.
Add same sex in.
Yeah. I mean,
what is
that?
So you're trying to
you say mom, so
you're trying to talk
to
your parents about this stuff and get advice, but it's almost like they can't give you so much advice because they don't know about what's going on. It's a completely different dynamic today.
Exactly.
It is. We all need. I need the new rule book.
Well, you do have
It's different.
and then you have the dynamics of the children that are raised, like you said, in different kind of situations, and then they come into this home, and we have a way that we do things, and they're bringing their outside garbage into the kids that are in this space.
That's true.
But the most important thing, no matter what, is the communication between the parents and the united front between the parents. As long as the blendeds and the steps and they can all come together and realize that at the end of the day, these children are the most important thing. So whether we agree to disagree or not, they will think that we are all on one accord,
and that's the way it should be.
and then the ones that step out, you have to be, and unfortunately we've had this happen, the ones that can't get on that same page, you got to kind of let it so that one bad apple don't spoil the bunch, because it can.
It can.
I mean, it can be a really serious situation.
Because everybody won't receive it.
Yeah,
Right,
and
exactly.
then with you being in a couple and understanding that this could harm the family, you have to protect that, even if it's your own kid that is the harm that's coming because of how they were raised on the other side. So that, I mean, it's just important to be on one team.
Old folks say you got to beat the devil out of them. We get the devil out too.
Yeah.
We gonna get it out.
I came from a family that my parents were together. I never knew what a stepmother or a stepfather, was. I can't say that for my children, because they had step parents. But coming from a two-parent family, knowing that my friends, I live with my dad, I live with my mom, our upbringing was totally different.
So it's like it's hard to relate.
Okay, we have to keep working along. We're 42 minutes in already. Can y'all
Wow.
believe it? Time goes so fast. I had no idea. So we got to give some prizes away before. Where am I? Okay, that's what I thought. Before we end, and we're gonna have a first question. Our first prize is gonna be a paparazzi piece. My friend Nawanda Turner is a paparazzi consultant, independent consultant, and she's given this away free. It's a gold ensemble of a bracelet, a necklace, and some matching earrings. These will be delivered to your home for that individual that answers this question correctly. Name the two main actors in the movie Love Jones, and what character did they play? So that'll be our first question. The person who answers the question first, as well as correctly, will receive this prize. Thank you, Nawanda Turner from Paparazzi, for taking care of your girl. Thank you. The question again is, name the two main actors in the movie Love Jones, and what character did they play? So we'll give you guys a little while to look that information up. It's pretty easy, actually.
Angie
Look
got
at
it.
Angie.
Angie, get it?
Nia Jones and Lorenz Tate.
All right. Yay! Angie, inbox me your address, and I will be delivering this to you. You should be receiving it sometime this week. Thank you, Angela. Good job. Okay, let's do another quick question.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll come back to.
Let me see here. I just kind of wanted to know your take. I know that I probably talked to most of you after the conversation we had a week ago, but what did you really think about it? Did you walk away feeling that you were fulfilled in some of the answers that they gave, either party? Because I know there was some very strong conversations about why do men lie. We talked a great deal about celibacy because you were talking about your celibacy, and you were talking, I can't remember what you were talking about, but sorry, he was in the audience. And we were talking about what women feel that they need and what they're not getting. So what did you guys take about that last conversation? We had about maybe almost 40 people in the room, and everybody kind of chimed in and had some great things to say. What did you take away from it?
Men want respect.
Men want respect.
Men want peace and peace.
Men want peace. What did y'all think about that? What did you think? What did you guys think?
Well, I think that was the main takeaway for me as far as what the majority of the male voice spoke of. As far as women is concerned, I still feel they're doing the investigative thing and trying to pick apart as to the common why. A lot of times I feel like we both do this as the male and female gender, where we try to not necessarily fix the one another, but we want to kind of fill that void. But back to the nurturing woman, a lot of times you kind of find yourself wanting to pick a little bit more. That answer isn't sufficient enough. There's a deeper answer a lot of times. And a lot of times there is. But that's just more or less what you're doing or seeing perpetuated by a male not really wanting to put that out there.
So just don't pick the male apart after you give an answer. But what about the lying thing?
I didn't necessarily have an issue with that with me personally, because what I put out in the atmosphere is what I anticipate to get back. So with me, I pride myself on honesty and trust. So I'm a very open book and transparent with everything. So me personally, I'm an easy read, but I can see where a lot of guys may not want to be read, if you will, or have their insecurities out on the table for everyone to view. And not necessarily everyone, but their significant other.
Would you say that's almost dangerous for you guys to put your vulnerability out there? I mean, maybe be taken advantage of, not just from women, just from the world.
Yeah, I mean, the danger is always there, but that's the name of the game. Like, I mean, if you're gonna go swimming, you're gonna get wet, right? So if you're gonna get in a relationship, there's inherent risks that you take, and if you're not gonna play the game, then get out the game. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not gonna put yourself at risk, then step aside.
I think too with that, and I think I'm along the same playing field. But a lot of times, the guy who has those insecurities, they were taught those insecurities. Because whether they had to fend for themselves or they may have put themselves out there or tried to, their pride got stepped on. Now it's like, I will not put that back out there again.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because I think what you're touching on in a certain way is that men have feelings, and that when our feelings get crushed, even though a lot of times people look at us like we don't, like we're just tools. I feel like a lot of times people look at men like we're just tools. Like, you're here to do this for me, and it's like, but what about my heart? You know, like that's
Let me ask you a question.
we really do say, we don't say that out loud, but we feel it.
But we're not taught to.
Right.
We're not taught to also communicate.
I can get that, exactly. That's the conflict.
That's the thing. We're not shown. We don't. And then again, if you don't have those examples, you're kind of looking for pieces here and there to put together your own picture of what a male is.
Because nobody's teaching you. If no one is teaching a woman how to be a woman in a respectable way, she has to go learn from somewhere else. And that goes for the men too. You have to learn. So basically, it's like the streets is like teaching us.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Television,
Because who teaches you this is a right way to be a man, or a man is supposed to treat a woman like this? My son got on the panel last week. And he had a question, and it was not for kids, but I have to bring my child with me sometimes. And his question was, why do girls get to do whatever they want to do to boys, and boys can't do nothing back? It's not fair. And so the men kind of answered his question, and he still walked away like, I just don't get it. He's 9 years old. The little girls want to come and step on his new shoes, push him, pop him in the head, and he wants to deck him out.
Okay.
And so I'm telling my son, you cannot. But why is his strong feeling? As a man, why do women get to do whatever to men and men can't do anything back? Do you think that women have taken advantage and hit you guys and then call the police on you? I mean, do you? I feel bad for men at times because I'm not gonna lie, I'm a woman and I'm vicious. We are vicious, and we will come after you guys. And if that is the reason why that maybe you don't always come forth because you know that we can,
That's the reaction they scared of.
and that's the reaction, huh?
I think even though like the world is bigger than just your relationship, right? And the world is full of all types of people. Okay. And so if you're in a situation like that as a man, and I think I have some experience to a degree, speak on that, but I'm not going to talk about personal things. But
Why we just want to pick it apart?
but I don't want to hurt somebody's reputation, right?
Okay.
I'm not a character assassin, so.
Okay.
But I think for some of us, we have to acknowledge the fact that there are injustices in the world, right? Life, like I was telling your son, like there is a principle that we're taught when we're young, and it's very simple. It's life is not fair. And everybody knows it.
Can I tell you this?
Right?
When we got home, I can't call him daddy no more because he's supposed to be my daddy. Daddy said, he asked Julian, he said, what did you get out of the answer? Life's not fair. But he felt like that was still not good enough.
That's right.
He just kind of walked off like, life's not fair.
Yeah, because he
as a
sat there for a while.
Like,
He sat there with his foot like,
I need some more.
I need more.
No, but see that's the thing. That's the current state of reality. Life is not fair in multiple ways. That's a type of injustice that men endure for women. Because ladies, you know how there are certain women who ruin good men.
Yeah.
Like they're bad, right? Even though
I've always said, Mark,
but you know
it's
it.
women like that that mess it up for
That's
women
right.
like
those
me.
guys that mess it up for y'all.
That's right.
Yes.
It's not even a gender
Yes.
thing. It's just there's certain people
Yes.
who are either rotten
Need to
or
never date
underdeveloped.
nobody.
That's right.
Right.
They need to be X'd off
Exactly.
of dating anybody.
Right.
He said,
And I don't think
That's a good way
That's
to say it.
true.
You're
But I think that
underdeveloped.
when men
They just need
allow
more time.
themselves to be vulnerable and they get with the one you were just talking about, and she has ruined him, he never recovers to the point that he allows himself to be vulnerable to the one who's like, I picked you. You are everything to me. You're my breath. You're my love. I love you so much, but you never get over the wall.
But that's the
Yeah.
same with women.
That's the
Well,
same.
you-
And let me say this. How many of us are working on our second marriages?
First marriage, third relationship. Third
You were married too, so that means you're working on your second marriage. I mean, I'm not saying that you're working on it now, but you were divorced. So, a lot of us have been divorced before. Yeah, okay. So, guess what? New relationship, even with my husband. My husband had a prior relationship that I know uses against me in our relationship when he sees signs. I do the same thing. You know what I mean? Looking at my husband, what I dealt with in that marriage. So therefore, whatever you've been through or whoever ruins who, the next person is going to have to receive that. So there's going to be compromise because they were in another relationship. It may not have been as great, but we're taking that into that new relationship. You can say you don't, but you're going to take that into that new relationship.
It is the candy in the bowl in the new relationship. And as soon as you do it, oh yeah.
And I got some more in my bag.
That's us.
I think what you were talking about, Donna, was about how men sometimes they don't recover, and I think with the advances in the social realm that we've had this far in society, I think broken men are often forgotten now. Like it's becoming an epidemic right? Of men who do get hurt, but they're put aside and they're forgotten and no one pays attention. So to your point, when men get hurt, like really hurt, there's severe trauma.
Yeah.
What happens is that there's not much of a social net for them, right?
Yeah.
We don't communicate like ladies do. So like when you
Heal
get
her.
hurt, right?
Heal her.
Where
Where's
you can't go to your buddy.
Yeah,
You're not willing to go and say, man,
They
like,
won't.
you know, like
Oh, but
she
they
broke me
won't.
down. She
But
hurt
then
me
When
so
you
bad.
get hurt,
Right.
Yeah,
when you get hurt, your girlfriends team up and y'all come together, and the society just wants to lift you up because nobody likes to see a hurt
So
woman.
who is
Okay,
I
but
have been
for
asked about this
guys,
heal
That's
him kind of
unfortunate.
thing, but
But
will
for-
you guys come? If I was to put a heal him out there, I'm not a heal him, I'm not a him, so I can't teach. I would need men
You're right.
to actually, if you can trust each other, you know what I mean? Forget us and come together to get those broken men, because I was told by my grandmother the worst man to have is a hurt man.
That's right.
Because a hurt man is going to give you a run for your money.
But think about all the men that we have that have like anxiety and depression and those type of issues that they don't talk about, and that so where would they go? They don't even want to go to counseling.
They don't
the
want to go
people
to
tell
counseling.
a lot of their friends tell them, buck up.
Right, like
Right?
man up.
That's the
I'm
psychological
depressed. Buck
help
up.
for us
That's
men.
what y'all get, really.
And then
No
a
lie,
lot
it's
of times
like,
too, so
man
back
up.
to what you were saying, like
Really?
a lot of times you'll console each other. Get on the phone, girl, so-and-so done did it,
So
right?
why can't you console each other? That's
We
considered
don't
weak.
do that. What we do is, if we do come together, it might be over a game, it might be over beer. We need to get everything out of our mind and suspend all
Okay.
of those feelings, because
So they
again,
don't talk about it.
we
They
don't
just,
sit and talk about
So
it
y'all just
open
veer it
up.
back.
yeah.
Right,
Well,
but we
and
fall
hold
back
it in
but we
immediately,
fall back
put it
into
back.
that. This is how we're shown to be a man. We're not taught.
But you
or shown
can't
to
bottle
talk
that
about
up and think it's supposed to just go away.
Eventually, what happens to that emotion
it. Absolutely.
with you men
That's what I'm saying.
is you meet, it's like having Pepe Le Pew and the cat. So you're the cat and she's Pepe Le Pew and she's trying to love all over you.
And you like,
Yeah. Yeah, because you have neglected that side of you, you've shut that down, and no matter what she does, she can't get in. And that's very disheartening to us.
It is.
And it makes us pull back, and oftentimes we as women say, oh, I'm not worthy to be loved by a man because the one that I love has rejected me all of the time.
And it might be just miscommunication
And I
that he
think
doesn't know
that's-
how to
That's what it is.
express.
Mhm.
So we tend to go into our manipulation stage because we have it.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We have it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Eve wouldn't have got Adam to eat the apple if we didn't have it.
Oh,
We
that's a
are
good
natural manipulators. You know what I mean? And we have certain skills. What did they say in Taken? I possess certain skills. we do. I will admit that we have certain skills.
And
This-
double standards.
and I'm not saying sexually, just sexually. I'm just saying we do have a way to manipulate you guys. And I think that y'all kind of know it. So that's
We
why
do.
y'all look at us.
But again, to like what Donna was saying, I want to say this one last thing is that when men have a higher rate of suicide than women. Like
Oh, that's interesting.
at age and around the age of like 20 to 25, like around that age group, men commit suicide 6 times more than women do.
Wow.
Because
Right.
of the pressures.
Because of the various pressures
They
that
can't let it out.
we're just expected to handle, and everybody expects us to handle. You expect us, we expect ourselves to handle it. And there's not too many people we can go to. But to your point is that like when there's a break in relationship, the rate of suicide among men goes up 10 times higher.
Wow.
It's because there's a real need in us. We really desire women's affection and attention. We do so much for it. We'll risk concussion, right? The whole football. We'll risk concussion. We'll risk breaking a leg. We'll risk running into walls for you guys, right? For you guys, because we want your
It would be
attention.
so much simpler
But-
than just saying.
But when it ends, when that ends, it's almost like a sense of our purpose is gone. Because I was living for you, but you left. Now why even play the game anymore? There's no cheerleader here. I don't want to play the game. My cheerleader's gone.
And you can't even
Right?
do
And so
it.
that's why the mentality of men tend to want to commit suicide
You
more.
can't go to your friends and express that.
No, they will clown you.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
We're winding down now. I think we got like maybe 3 minutes. Let's take one more question from the audience. Obviously not.
Got it.
Sarah Washington, when you heal her, you can heal him. Adrienne Whitaker said, I feel as though society and women have castrated man's natural manhood. Charlene said, great topic. Yaya, love. Did you notice how quick Adam thought Eve threw Eve under the bus when God caught them?
Yeah, that
True.
girl, quick fast. She told me to do it. It was her. That was what Julie was saying.
That woman you gave me, that woman, and you had not given me that woman, you gave it to me. Yeah.
Good point, Angela Lynn.
That's interesting.
So we want to do one more question before we do a wrap up with our guest. Our last question is, and what year was Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King married? What year was Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King married? And while you Google that, because you know I know you Google it, the fastest fingers will win. You guys, whoever answers this, will receive this fabulous painting by my friend and just a fabulous, talented artist, Nicole Burton. She is giving this and donating this to the individual who answers this question first and correctly. So, again, what was Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King's married date? We'll let someone answer that, and we'll finish with Julie summing up.
So what I want to say is these conversations are very important, because even though that men may not want to express and women don't want to so much submit, if the dialogue continues, maybe we can get a common ground. So with the Heal Her Foundation, we're going to continue these conversations, and we're going to do these once a quarter.
Yay.
So look, go to.
So then you're going to do them, and then you're going to come on the show.
That would be perfect.
With a follow-up.
With a follow-up.
Very good.
And the reason why we don't do live during the meeting, because it may be 40, 50 people, and sometimes they will admit some things or share some things they don't want the world to see. So those are not going to be shot live. But we're going to have these meetings. If you go to healher.org on Facebook, on Instagram, or the website, you'll see the dates and times that we're going to have. And I think the next one is May, I want to say around May 20th. So check the website. Also, don't forget about the Heal Her Luncheon, May 4th. I really need your support to come out and celebrate these three magnificent ladies that are doing some great things in the community. Go on healher.org, read their bios, see the videos. I know I'm flooding y'all's Facebook.
No, it's okay. They love it.
We're going to have wonderful lunch. We're going to have a host of vendors. We're going to really have a good time. And this is just something for the Women Wellness Initiative, and I appreciate your support in advance. I would like to thank our panelists that came. Not everybody was able to be here today, but every quarter I'm going to pick a whole new panel. Yeah. So if you're interested in sitting on the panel, inbox me, and I'll randomly pick some people, 3 women, 3 men, 3 women. So it's not going to be the same people. I think the village, the community needs to be on. Everybody has an opinion. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you to the Heal Her Foundation for joining us today for another conversation. Home again, we're trying to work out those kinks to make sure that home is its best. The heart is in the home, right? Yeah. But we want to make sure we announce the winner of the painting that I told you is by Nicole Burton is Brigitte. Oh, Brigitte, you won. That's my friend, Brigitte. Make sure you inbox me your address, boo, and I might drop it off instead of delivering it in the mail. So just let me know what your address is. Okay, I think we are all finished with today's topic. You guys happy? Yay! So again, we're always trying to provide you with a resource, and you got a new resource today, and it's called Heal Her. If you don't know, now you know. My name is Rita Fuller-Yates, and I'm your lifestyle expert, and I'll see you next time.